CarMax just fired their CEO after a $5 billion mistake. Their stock crashed 50%, while their biggest rival Carvana somehow shot up 50% in the same year. Wall Street is asking one question. If America's most trusted used car dealer is collapsing, what does that say about everyone else? But here's the twist. CarMax might be the only honest player left. While competitors post miracle numbers, CarMax is showing the brutal reality of 23% interest loans, skyrocketing repossessions, and a subprime market ready to explode. Today I'm breaking down how CarMax built their empire on transparency, what went wrong with their $5 billion inventory disaster, and whether this is the end or just the beginning of a much bigger crisis. The trust revolution. Back in 1993, buying a used car meant walking onto a sketchy lot and haggling with a salesman who'd say anything to close the deal. Then, Circuit City's leadership had a wild idea. What if they built a dealership where every price was fixed, every scratch was listed on the window, and nobody played games? They opened the first CarMax in Richmond, Virginia. Customers lined up out the door that first week. The concept was simple but radical. No haggling, no hidden fees, just honest prices backed by data. By 1997, CarMax went public and became a household name. Parents sent their kids there for their first car. Families showed up after tough years hoping for a fair trade-in. The company obsessed over customer satisfaction scores and fired managers who tried to fudge numbers. Through the late 90s and early 2000s, CarMax expanded nationwide, always sticking to the same rule. Treat people the way you'd want your own family treated. The data machine. CarMax didn't just promise fairness, they coded it into every transaction. By the early 2000s, they were spending millions on technology. They built a national inventory network where a Ford F-150 in Phoenix cost the same as one in Pittsburgh. No backroom deal. Their pricing algorithm pulled from market data updated daily, making honesty automatic instead of optional. By 2016, they launched an omnichannel platform letting buyers browse on their phone, reserve a car online, and finish paperwork in store, or get it delivered. Every customer rated their experience, and those scores determined promotions. Tech spending hit $200 million a year. Surveys in 2018 and 2019 ranked CarMax #1 for customer satisfaction. But this system had a blind spot. Algorithms work great when markets are stable. When demand shifts suddenly or prices drop fast, the same rules protecting customers can leave the company dangerously exposed. For years, though, the system held. CarMax's reputation wasn't just marketing. It was embedded in millions of data points and customer reviews, the warning signs. By summer 2024, CarMax's analytics team saw something terrifying in their dashboards. Cars were sitting on lots for over 70 days, almost double the previous year. The pricing algorithm showed the company was consistently overbidding for used vehicles, paying way more than the market could support. On September 14, 2024 at 2:16 p.m., a data lead sent a memo to senior management with a time-stamped chart. Average purchase price was outpacing resale values by $1,400 per vehicle. If nothing changed, CarMax would be sitting on hundreds of millions in depreciating inventory by year's end. The memo warned about loan risk too. Nearly 4 out of 10 CarMax customers now had subprime credit with interest rates as high as 23%. Risk models predicted defaults would spike if the economy slowed. Dashboards that normally showed green and yellow now flashed red across Cleveland, Houston, and Atlanta, where repossessions were already climbing. But here's where it gets wild. The board's response was basically nothing. Executives doubled down on the existing strategy, betting seasonal demand would save them. The analytics team watched their recommendations get quietly filed away while the risk kept building. The $5 billion bomb, August 2025, brought the reckoning. CarMax had to admit $5.2 billion in write-downs and impairment charges. This wasn't buried in footnotes, it punched straight through the balance sheet. In the used car business, every vehicle gets marked to market, meaning its value updates to reflect what it could sell for right now. When cars sat unsold for months and prices kept falling, CarMax's models forced them to admit the truth. A 2022 Honda Accord bought for $27,000 was now selling for $22,000. That $5,000 gap had to be recorded as a loss immediately. SEC filings showed loan loss reserves jumped 25% year over year, with $117 million added in just the first quarter of 2026. More customers were falling behind on those 20+% interest loans, so the company had to increase reserves, acknowledging that money would never be repaid. Mark-to-market accounting was supposed to make things fair and transparent, but in a falling market, it became a meat grinder. CarMax's honesty, once their greatest strength, now looked like a fatal weakness. Competitors using creative accounting didn't have to show their bruises so openly. The $5.2 billion wasn't written in one day. It was the sum of cascading forced admissions, each one required by a system that refused to let hope override reality. The Carvana shell game. While CarMax bled out in public, Carvana posted results that seemed impossible. Rising margins, endless growth, stock up 50%. But wait, this next part changes everything. Carvana has a secret weapon, their own family-owned finance pipeline. The Garcia family controls Carvana, DriveTime, and Bridgecrest. When Carvana originates risky subprime loans, they don't hold them. They bundle them up and sell them at full face value to DriveTime or Bridgecrest, other companies the same family owns. On paper, Carvana's books look perfect. Bad loans vanish, revenue jumps, Wall Street applauds. But the risk didn't disappear, it just moved to another pocket of the same empire. A former Carvana risk analyst said they would package loans with questionable repayment prospects, but as long as the loans left Carvana's books, Wall Street didn't care. CFR analyst Garrett Nelson put it bluntly, Carvana's results are almost too good to be true. In 2024 alone, Carvana offloaded nearly $1 billion in loans to these related parties. Some of the so-called independent buyers are trusts linked to Cerberus Capital, where a Carvana director works. This isn't creative accounting, it's a shell game. And when it ends, it won't be the Garcias or Wall Street holding the bag. It'll be regular families whose loans were never meant to survive, the real victims. Let me tell you about John. He's a 44-year-old plumber from Indiana who bought a used F-150 from CarMax in spring 2024 for $34,500. His credit was bruised from medical bills and a divorce. CarMax approved him at 22.7% APR. That's over $400 a month for 7 years. When overtime dried up, John fell 3 months behind. The repo guy showed up before dawn and took his truck. Now John has no way to get to work. Federal Reserve data shows auto loan delinquencies hit a 15-year high in 2025. At CarMax, nearly 4 out of 10 loans go to subprime borrowers like John, who have no other options. Repossession rates jumped 27% year over year among subprime borrowers. CarMax's loan loss reserves doubled in a single year. That's not just an accounting line, it's thousands of people losing their cars, their jobs, their stability. Jonathan Smoke, chief economist at Cox Automotive, said the single greatest risk to the used car market today is unchecked subprime lending. Analysts call CarMax the canary in the coal mine, the first to admit how bad things really are. But for people like John, it's not about market signals. It's about losing the one thing you need to survive in America, a reliable car. And it's spreading fast.